Hi. As I've said in some earlier videos, one of my favorite things about the Circuit Playground Express, or CPX, is that it is packed full of sensors. They've really crammed a lot of great sensors onto this tiny device. Today we're going to talk about three of them. On board, there's an accelerometer, a light sensor, and a temperature sensor. All three of those are already packaged onto the CPX, and they're really easy to access, and that we're going to see that today. So let's begin. I'm going to open up my IDE, my Mu IDE, which is a great way to program when you're using a CPX. And I've already got one line written. That's I'm going to import the modules that enables me to talk to a lot of the stuff on the CPX. So I'm going to, from the Adafruit Circuit Playground Express, I'm going to import the CPX. Okay, then the next thing I'm going to do is make my while loop. I'm going to use while true. I don't always have to do that, but that's a loop that'll just run forever. Now, real quick, because it's going to run over and over and over, one of the first things I'm usually going to do is also from time import sleep. And in my while loop can happen millions of times a second. I don't need it to run that fast. Today, let's have it sleep maybe half a second. So that while loop is going to happen over and over, but every time it goes into that loop, it's going to wait half a second. Now let's see what we want to do. We want to access those three sensors. This is how easy it is to access the. Let's first access the light sensor. I'm going to print CPX.light. I'm going to print. Oh, let's just start there just to see if it works. So I'm going to print CPX.light. I'm going to hit save, open up my serial monitor. There it is. Every half a second, I'm picking up the light coming in through the CPX. Now, I just had mine upside down on the table, so the light is very low. You can see it's reading a value of 6 or 7. If I point it up at the ceiling, it's in the 30s. If I look on the board, I can see where the light sensor is. It's a little eyeball. If I put my finger over the eyeball, I can get it down. Oops, I think I just hit reset. No, I didn't. Okay. I could probably get it down pretty low, like 7 or so, 6. Okay, so that's a really accurate, quick way to see what's going on with the CPX. So there's a lot of cool applications there if you're building a robot. You can actually make a line following robot, which is one of my favorite projects. If you point the CPX at the floor, and if it goes over something black, right now I'm holding it over my black computer, it's 7, hold it over something white, it's 25. So you can see that it'd be pretty easy to make a line following robot using just the light sensor. Pretty awesome. And because there's 10 LEDs on here, if you light up all 10 of those LEDs and then shine it on something, you can really get a big distinction between light and dark. Really cool. All right, I'm gonna leave that piece of code up there and just comment it out for now. And let's see what other, let's do the temperature sensor. I'm gonna print cpx.temperature. So you can see how hard it is to code this. It's literally cpx.temperature. Now I'm going to hit save. You can see that that's a float or a decimal coming off of the temperature reading, and that is in Celsius, 24 degrees. Nice and a pretty good temperature for my room. Let's see if I look on here. There's a picture of a thermometer. That's probably a temperature sensor. If I put my finger over that, you can see it rises 26, 27. I might be able to get it up to body temperature. And if I take my finger off, maybe blow on it, wiggle it around or something, I can get that temperature back down 26. Now I can put my finger on it, have it go back up to 27. Pretty cool. Next, we're flying through these. Let's get to acceleration. I bet you can figure out how to do acceleration. I'm going to print it, and it's cpx.acceleration. And if I hit save, let's see what happens when I print acceleration. Acceleration, when I call acceleration for my CPX, what gets returned is called a tuple, and that is just a collection of multiple values. And you can see not only does it return a tuple of multiple values, they actually have names associated with them. So the tuple that gets returned has 3 names already associated with the 3 values. It's x, y, and z, and those are acceleration values. Looks like they're roughly meters per second squared. If I hold my CPX flat up and down, it should read about 9.8. That's the acceleration due to gravity in meters per second squared. If I flip it upside down, I'm looking at the z direction, by the way. Z is around negative 9.8. So it's like negative 9.8 to 9.8. So you can see the axis of my accelerometer is pointing down right now. And then if I flip it, it's pointing up, so it's reading a negative value. And all I have to do is tilt it in another direction. Y is now reading negative 9.8. Now Y is reading 9.8, and then I can see that I can get X to read about negative 9.8 or negative 9 or 9.8 or negative 9.8. So again, very accurate, very reliable accelerometer data coming off of this thing. Now, if I want to access just one of those, it's pretty easy. Here's the quickest way to do that. I don't want to print the whole tuple. I'm going to assign what comes off of that tuple as 3 values. I can call them whatever I want. Why not call them X, Y, and Z equals CPX.acceleration. So CPX.acceleration is going to return 3 values, and Python will just stick them in the 3 values I put right there. So now I can just print any one of those I want. Let's print Z. Now when I hit save, it's not going to give me that whole tuple. It's just the Z value. Hold it up and down. It'll be around 9.8, negative 9.8. Okay, so that's pretty great. I've really quickly, very simply, just using the CPX modules that I imported for line one of my program, I'm able to use CPX.light, CPX.temperature, and CPX.acceleration, just with the one little note that acceleration returns a tuple, and it maybe takes one more line if I want to access those things individually. Okay, one more awesome thing I want to throw into this video before we're done, and that is something really cool built into Mu, and it's the serial plotter. So again, serial, this is my USB, Universal Serial Bus. I have serial communication happening back and forth across my USB. When I save a program, I'm taking that program, I'm sending it this way to the CPX. And the CPX right now, when I use the print command, what that's doing is sending it across the USB cable back to my computer. Well, Mu can monitor the serial, which we're looking at right now, so I can see what's happening, what's coming across the serial monitor. It'll also plot it, which is really cool. Since I've got Z going, let's look what happens when I open my serial plotter. I'm going to open the serial monitor, the serial plotter. It's going to show up there on the right, and notice that right off the bat, nothing happens. So I've got a nice plot. Right now is graphing from zero to positive 1,000, negative 1,000, and then time is on the horizontal axis. Nothing's happening, and here's why. What the serial monitor will plot is if you send a tuple to the print command. Right now, I am just printing Z. That's not a tuple. Here's how I can turn something into a tuple. I'm going to put it in parentheses. So my Z is now in parentheses, and I'm literally just going to put a comma right there. So what that means, that is a tuple of one value, it's just Z. Nothing else is in that tuple. And now if I hit save, the serial plotter will see that and go, oh, you want to plot that. I'm going to plot that tuple for you. And right now it's just hanging out at around negative 9.3. And you can see a nice constant negative 9.3 value being plotted. But one of the cool things about the plotter is I can really get a nice visual sense of what's going on my CPX. And the plotting is happening. I've got a half-second delay. Maybe I can speed that up if I want my plot to look a little smoother. Let's do a 0.2 second delay. So now here's a nice constant negative 9.8, and then I'm going to go to positive 9.8. And as I rotate my accelerometer, I can see a nice plot, which is really cool. Again, just a nice visual way to see what's going on. Why not put some other things in that tuple? Why don't I put Y in there? And let's just start with Y. Now I'm plotting Z and Y. Let's see, Y is, if I look on here, it's printed. Y is this direction. So if I don't accelerate it in the Y direction, I can make Z go up and down. And this is just a cool exercise for students to kind of get their sense of gravity and acceleration. Notice the Y, which is the green one right now, isn't really changing. But then if I tilt it this way, now Z should not change much. And so I can get Y to change by doing this, and actually Z and Y are changing if I do this. And I can print as many things as I want here. Let's do X on here. So notice that X, Y, and Z are all in parentheses themselves. That makes them a tuple. Now I have 3 lines being plotted simultaneously. And I can try to hold one of those constant, so you can see right now that Y, the green line, is being held kind of constant as I rotate. So that gives students a pretty cool way just to get some data off your CPX and visualize it. While we're at it, let's just maybe do let's do temperature. Might not be that interesting. We'll do light. So I can do CPX.light. Now if I just do that, there we go. Nothing's being plotted until I put a comma right there. And that tells Mu that that's a tuple, and now it's plotting that. So again, my light sensor is a little eyeball. The light value is hovering around 30 or so. I can put my finger on it, make it dark, and so you can kind of see how the responsiveness of this thing. So that's it. Really simple to access these three sensors, and also great to use the Mu serial plotter to take a look at those data. I think it's a good way for students and really anybody just to learn about acceleration and the other sensors on here, light and temperature.